All right, guys, welcome back to Daru Strong Podcast. I'm your host, Phil Daru. Today we have my guy, Matt Vincent. Now, Matt is a Highland Games champion. He's also a very successful businessman, but now he's going into the sport of endurance. So we talk a little bit about that. We talk a little bit about business, about life in general. Very good conversation. Also going to go ahead and get a workout with him right now. But before we do that, I have to shout out the sponsors. Go ahead, check out Athletic CBD, athleticcbd.com. Use my discount code DARU if you have some bumps, bruises, any type of injuries that need some assistance. CBD will help you out. Go check it out right now. Also, vivobarefoot.com. Use my discount code DaruStrong20 if you want to rock the shoes that I rock in my videos. Yes, the minimalistic shoe that is going to help with functionality, strengthening up your feet, and again, it's pretty stylish too as well. Also, if you're looking to use or learn some of my protocols, the methods of training, some of my programs too as well, go to my website, darustrong.com. You'll find my mentorship and all of my online programs. Especially if you are on lockdown, quarantine, not able to get to the gym, we have a body weight only program for you as well, Body Armor. Also, my very own app. Go ahead, you can check that out. It's Fight Dominance. It's a coordination of Train Heroic and myself going through fight camp or off camp scenarios to get you ready for fight camp. Check it out right now. Link is in the description. Now, let's get on to the podcast.
Welcome to the Daru Strong Podcast. Daru Strong Podcast.
Let's go. Mind over matter. Put your mind somewhere else and keep going. That little voice in your head is trying to stop you from getting to where you want to be. Be successful and keep moving forward.
With your host and world-renowned strength and conditioning coach, Phil Daru.
So, we got Matt in the building. Matt Vincent.
Happy to be here, dude.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate it. Well, you've been in Florida for how many days now?
3
days.
4, something like that.
It was a hybrid meet. We went there. Right, we've been kicking it with Steffi Cohen a little bit.
Yeah. My girlfriend Bonnie competed, and so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she did a push pull. So it was her first meet that she's done in a while.
Yeah, I think I saw it on your Instagram.
So
right?
I'm excited for her. She tied her all-time best deadlift, and then had a great bench, and it was kind of a going away meet, I guess, basically before she's going in for a double mastectomy and then breast augmentation.
Wow. Okay.
She's got the gene mutation for the BRCA1, so it's like an 85% chance of breast cancer in her future.
Wow.
So fuck that.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's be proactive.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, instead of having that thing hanging over you of like waiting for it, and that anxiety gives her a ton.
Yeah. I mean,
let's just get rid of it.
For sure. So when's she going in for that?
In a month.
In a month?
Yeah. So when we come back up in April, she'll be
she'll
a whole new lady.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, Florida's actually pretty good for that.
No shit. Yeah.
She'll fit in, you know. So, all right. So, what are you doing now? I know that you are getting ready for a long run. Let's talk about that a little bit.
So I'm making the shift over to endurance, and I mean, making the shift is I'd like to get better at it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy cycling, and I've never been a runner. And this seems like a thing that's challenging, that's going to take a full effort, but not undoable. Okay. Like, I know I can't do the 50.
Yeah.
I don't have...
That's pretty long.
Yeah, I don't have 14 hours of movement in me.
Yeah.
So, like, the 7 hours to do the 18-mile trail run that I've signed up for in Bryce Canyon, it's going to be 7 hours. And, like... I don't know how my body reacts after that. Like, I've done some long bike ride stuff in like 5 or so hours, and it's rough. Yeah. So
you stop over the road and pee and stuff.
Yeah, like and then like, of course, right? And I'm not trying to race. I just want to finish. So the big impetus for this was like I've done strength. Yeah. And so I already know those metrics. Like as a human, I know my squat, I know my bench, I know my deadlift, I know my clean, I know my snatch, and I know how far I can throw things.
Yeah, we know that.
And so as an athlete, I know all those metrics. And now that my skeleton is compromised due to surgery, I'm never going to beat those numbers. And that's cool. The goal was to find those numbers out. Like I can have an emotion about them not being far enough or I could have done more, but at the end of the day, they're not. That is the numbers. And so what other numbers can I find out? Like, I don't know how far I can run. Also, can I get better at running? Because I've always said, like, oh, I'm not a runner. I'm 240. I'm too big. I'm too blah, blah, blah. But can I get better at it? And even in a week, I'm better at it.
Of course. Well, you're adapting.
Of course, right? And so I'm curious to see what else the machine will adapt to.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because this is on the polar opposite of what you've been doing for your entire life almost, right? You've been a strength athlete your entire life, right?
Yeah, so football background, then track and field in college, and then after that, strongman, powerlifting, finally Highland Games.
Yeah, so Highland Games, you set some records, obviously. You've been a champion for that.
Yeah, I won. So I got into Highland Games like 2008, and then by 2011, I'd won 3 amateur world championships and got into my first professional game at a professional world championship and took second.
Nice.
And then from there, I won the world championship in 2012, took second in 2013, and then won again in 14, and then 15 and 16, took second.
Yeah, so you were on top for
my whole stretch. And it was great.
Crazy.
And then it's gone now.
Something new, challenging.
That was a really tricky shift, right? Because I think throughout life people want to find shit they're good at and lean into the strengths. Well, I found mine. And chances are, I'm not going to be a world champion at a second physical thing. Most people don't get one. I'm not going to find 2.
Yeah. It's very hard. It's very hard.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
I found my thing. But the real bummer was, I can't do it at all.
Yeah.
I can't teach it.
Oh,
I can't move enough to coach.
Do you think it? Well, that's one thing. But do you think because you were such at a high level and you were so, I don't want to say naturally gifted, because you put some work in?
I'm definitely gifted at it for sure. Though there's some talent.
Do you find it harder for yourself to coach it because of the fact that you are so gifted with it, that it's very hard for you to be like, why can't you just do it?
There, to an extent. I'm very good as far as like a Highland Games coach or a throws coach. I can help someone who's pretty good. Yeah. But it's really tough for me to start trying to explain day one and trying to explain the just simple body mechanics of like, you turn the knee in, push the hip, the shoulder's the last thing to go. Or like how to create force or how to do any of those things. I've been doing it since middle school. Gotcha. And so I don't remember learning those steps anymore.
Yeah, it's second nature.
Right, so it's really that's not my skill set. And I think it's very important to know, I'm not a coach. Yeah. It's never a thing I've claimed to be. I don't have a hard-on for it. And I'm glad that there's awesome people that do. Yeah. I like doing.
Yeah.
You know?
That's where, people ask me all the time, they're like, man, don't you, miss competing? And I'm like, of course I miss competing. I wasn't bad at it. You know what I'm saying? Right. I could still do it. There was some certain things there. I think for me, watching or helping my guys get to a certain level gives me a certain level of achievement that I live almost vicariously through them, so their own power is personified through me, and that's why I do what I do now. But man, I still want to compete. I still want to do something for me as well. But that also helps with my coaching in a sense, you know what I mean? But for you, again, being at that such a high level, that's why I always see that, because you don't see Michael Jordan
going into coaching. Yeah. But then Larry Bird does.
Yeah, true.
Right? I think people have it or they don't. Right? And no, I've known more now that while I don't consider myself a coach in any way, I do really like sharing mindset stuff and those type of things and different perspective shifts that can affect training. I would rather help motivate and inspire and try to give people genuine information of it's not magic. It's work. Yeah. And you just have to start. You figure out the motivation and inspiration while you're doing it. That's how it works. You can't just sit around and wait for that lightning strike. It ain't coming. Yeah. And so it's keeping the competitive edge is good for me because it works with the brand. I can switch that over to doing that or teaching or seminars or anything. And then the podcast for me has been awesome as far as a competitive outlet. Just in the fact of we're going to perform at this time. Yeah. Right? It doesn't have to always be perfect. I mean, how many days you go to record a thing and I'm tired. I'm squeezing it in.
Yeah, no, for sure. 100%.
But you can't phone it in. Yeah. You still have to be engaged and drive that conversation.
Oh yeah, you're in there.
And being good at podcasting is tough. It's easy to be what, are you just talking to your friends? Man, it's work.
Yeah, it's definitely work. If you want to be good at it.
Managing the conversation and trying to figure out the path it goes. And especially when you have people on who don't do a lot of podcasts.
Oh man, let me tell you something. I love everybody that's on my show.
Of course.
Let me just say that right now. But there is people that I ask a question and it's like one word answers, and I'm like, oh.
But just because someone's great at their thing, why would I also expect that they'd be naturally good at this?
True.
Like I did 10 years as an outside sales rep, talking to people and taking people to lunches and doing all that. And And I've traveled and done YouTube videos for 10 years too. And so, talking I can do.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And I like it, so it's great.
No, we were talking off air. I was like, man, we should probably say this for the podcast.
Sure.
But I mean, like, so getting into now, because let's talk about your surgeries, man. You've had a lot, obviously. You've had a lot of things and, obviously been competing at the highest level. Right. There's a lot of injuries going on.
You only get to burn that for so long. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Like what we talked about the other day, right, is the idea of, I think MMA training, I think jiu-jitsu, I think Highland Games, I think CrossFit, I think weightlifting, powerlifting, anything.
What is he doing, man? Get up.
I'm sorry.
What is going on right now?
It's so much more sketchy that just happened than if you'd have just
doing.
I gotta get
they can see you probably.
100%. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm back.
Alrighty.
All these things can be healthy.
Yeah.
Running, anything. But if you're interested as an athlete to figure out max potential or be the best in the world at it, this isn't health pursuit anymore.
No.
This is, we're setting fire to it, and I don't know how long we get to do this before eventually Father Time wins.
Yeah.
And it's either, people get toward that and they'll get frustrated and be like, I just kept racking up these little injuries and I couldn't keep competing. Like, that's Father Time.
Yeah, that's what happens.
That is how it goes.
For sure.
You just push that limit so hard because if you want to be the best, like, keep pushing adaptation at that high level requires more.
Yeah.
And so you're going to cross the line too many times and then it bites back. And also, we're all maniac athletes that unless we're pushing what we think is the absolute, and if you're telling me to go to a 10, is 11 all right?
Yeah, you're going.
Right,
push it another level, man. It's always going to happen. And I think with that, it's because I worked with a lot of elite level guys, and I've been around people like yourself at that highest level, and everybody says the same thing. Like, I have to almost pull my guys back.
You have to.
All the time, you know what I mean? Because they're trying to get that edge. They're trying to gain a little bit more and more each day, each week, each year, everything. So it makes a lot of sense. And a lot of people think that, okay, when you do a sport, it's for your own health. But at the end of the day, it's almost the opposite.
Well, and it's temporary.
Yeah.
Like, as an athlete who's really trying to push that thing, like, no one's done it forever.
Yeah.
And so injuries are part of the game. I just didn't expect mine to go this far because I never had a catastrophic failure. And so I had an ACL that was gone in college, fixed it, and then retore it. And then once I started trying to fix it in 2016, we did 4 ACLs that didn't take.
Wow.
They just were gone.
Wow.
So, like, I would do the full 3-month rehab for the ACL and then go in to get something else looked at or get an MRI or an X-ray, and they're like, oh, the ACL's gone. I'm back in surgery 10 days later.
What'd you get the first time?
So I did just a cadaver.
Yeah.
And then tried the second time was a cadaver Achilles. And then did 2 more cadaver attempts.
Achilles, huh?
Yeah, so tried to just use a bigger thing. I wasn't re-tearing them.
Yeah.
They would just dissolve. Wow. My body would just eat them or not get blood flow to them or whatever it is, and they would just be gone.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so,
why do you think that they give you any?
No clue.
Wow, that's crazy.
No, my body's not into cadaver tissue apparently. Yeah. No new friends.
Yeah, right.
We've been here without an ACL so long. We don't need your fucking help now, showing up at the last minute, trying to take all this glory.
Yeah, fuck.
The rest of my knee parts are like, fuck this dude.
You got a tight circle in your knee right there.
Right.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
Stabbing him.
Yeah. So all right, and now you.
Yeah, and then it finally was total knee replacement.
Yeah.
Because I got
the same knee. It's the same knee.
All the same knee. I've never had surgery anywhere else.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything else just runs like a top.
That's crazy.
And so now the hip's a little jacked now.
Why was
from
that
the knee?
Was that from the torque that you were creating with
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everything's one side turn and everything is that. Same thing with throwing a punch, right?
Yeah.
Same mechanics that you're going to squish that bug with the back foot to push the hip through and then finally lead with the shoulder and hand. Same thing for shot put. And then I'm doing all of it on grass and cleats. So there's little extra. And it just wore it down.
Sure, yeah.
the surgeries that went bad for me, the ACLs suck, and they just ended up chewing the knee up so much going in there that many times. You're just removing parts.
Yeah.
And
it's trauma just in general, just getting surgery.
Period.
Sitting there, yeah.
Right, and so that's 8 surgeries that go through the same like opening and scar. That's everything. And so we did a Oates procedure, trying to get rid of some pain in my knee. And
what's an Oates procedure?
So I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but essentially, so they go in and drill out some holes in the bottom of the femur. So like 3 30-millimeter holes is what I got done. So it's about the size of a quarter.
Yeah.
And then they replace those with cartilage.
Okay.
Cadaver cartilage.
Okay.
So 2 out of 3 didn't heal. Oh, sorry, 1 out of the 3 didn't heal well. So the one on the middle of the knee was fine. The one on the outside of the knee did great. And the medial on the inside healed about like 80% through. And so on an MRI, you could see it that there's just a black spot in the bone where it just never grew back. And so what came from that was it flexed when I walk. And so it never got the density. And so it essentially just stays fractured and moving from movement. And that's where my really, really rough bit with pain came from, was from that. Because it would get inflamed, like, I don't know, walk 200 yards. And then I'm done for the day.
Damn.
And so, like, it got really tough, man, waking up knowing that I only got that many credits in the tank today. And so, like, you start being careful how you spend them. Like, I can't go to the store. I can't go to the fucking store and walk around. What are you talking about? I'll be done for 2 days.
That's crazy.
And that's a really weird mind shift for an athlete who, well, this thing does whatever we ask it to. And now I can't go to the store. I can't walk upstairs. I can't step with my right foot up. It just felt like I was trapped inside a thing that I don't know how to operate anymore. And so finally, after it got so bad pain-wise that when it got really inflamed, and which wouldn't take much, that I would get like a 9 out of 10 stabbing pain, like in that Oates procedure. When I'd exhale.
Wow.
All day. And
That's
so then I'm catching myself
Went
shallow breathing all day.
All the way to the knee.
That's a weird feeling of like, why does that hurt there when I'm breathing?
That's crazy.
But everything's connected, especially
sure.
lymphatic and blood pressure. And and so finally got in to do the total knee, and like they didn't want to do it because I'm 36.
Man.
So doctor, he's like, we don't really do it. I think blah blah blah. I'm like, here's where I'm at. Like I'm in trouble, man. Either we got to do something that's going to make this better, or I'm going to figure out how to get rid of the leg.
It's crazy.
Because this isn't sustainable. If this goes on, I just can't. And they did it, and it fucking fully saved my life.
Nice.
So that was good, getting out of pain. And man, I knew that I had gotten away from that pain after surgery when they had me walk down the hall. In the hospital.
Instantly,
I'm like, it's gone.
Instantly.
It's fucking gone. That
how
that pain's gone. I fucking cried.
I'm sure.
It's so overwhelming. I've had a couple weird moments like that where this summer we were on the road and we're in Montana, and I decided to go for a run that morning. I'd been running a little bit here and there, just moving. And so it started off with, I'll just go for a 5K walk. And then I ran some of it. And then like ran most of it and finished the 5K in like 45 minutes or something like that. And got back and was sitting there and got super emotional. Because like I wrote this off. This was an impossibility. Like I'm not running ever again. And the fact that like now I'm stealing some little ability back feels so rad. And I'm just so grateful to be able to run at all. That
I'm sure.
I want to see what it can do. I'm not trying to be a runner.
No.
I'm not trying to jack my knee up either. I'll listen.
You're getting back to your competitive athlete mindset.
Look, I'll never be competitive against other people again. In the same scheme I was. But I can get better. And that's the competitive side that I think that's the mental we all need. And that doesn't leave it based on someone else's thing for how I judge my success.
I think that's one of the things that I always tell my kids now. Like my son is 6 years old, so like I want him to get into sports for that particular reason, to like understand competition.
Right.
Because you're competing against others, but this is going to carry over to your life.
Everything.
Yeah.
Those big picture things, right, that I think people don't understand of, for me, and I'm sure the same for you, that like being at a high level with athletics, like the big part that comes from that is I'm confident in my ability to perform when I say go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a skill that goes to everything.
Yeah.
That gets rid of anxiety. It gets rid of any of those things because I feel confident and I'm educated in the thing, and because I've competed so many times, it eliminates all those anxieties of the what ifs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know what's going to happen. It's experience.
Yeah.
You got to compete to be good at competing.
Yeah.
And being a good competitor is a skill.
Yeah.
Not just the thing you do, but being a good competitor.
Yes.
Like knowing how to keep it in check and knowing how to keep the butterflies and the energy the right way.
That's so important, bro. And I don't mean to cut you off, but it just comes to mind like every guy that I seen that was super good in the gym, and then they get in the cage and then they crumble, right? Or like,
that we always call that. So like in track, we have those guys, right? Throw far in practice, we get them to a track meet, they can't do it.
Oh yeah.
And
gym heroes.
It's, trains like Tarzan, throws like Jane. It was always what we called it.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, right? That people crumble under the lights.
Yeah.
I was always the athlete that performed way better when it was go time.
Yeah. I mean, those are the guys that make it to the next level. And
that's the part you can't. I can't give it to you.
No, that's true.
The only thing I can try to help with is compete and compete often, and realize you're competing against you, and it's trying to figure that out. So, all right, here's a question for you with the fight training stuff. I always look at it, watching different athletes, like watching a Nate Diaz or even Poirier or any of these guys. Like, man, they're fighters. And watch them get in there and go for it. And then I see something like watching, Mayweather or George St. Pierre, who to me, I believe they're competitors. And I look at, it's a different thing. Like both those guys are playing to win. They're not playing to win a fight. They're trying to get the hand raised at the end of the match.
They're playing the game.
Yes.
They're playing the game.
And take less damage.
Oh, for sure.
There's no ego there that says I got to get beat the fuck up to win this thing.
Yes. It's funny because we talked about this on numerous podcasts. My coach, Dean Thomas, would always have these categories of athletes, and particularly in fighting, right? You would have the competitor, the athlete, the fighter, and then you have the martial artist, right? So then, like, all these guys, like, if you look at Anderson Silva, he's kind of more of a martial artist.
Sure.
Right? GSP, athlete, kind of a hybrid, athlete, martial artist.
Yeah, you end up getting to a couple categories.
Sure. And then you got, like, guys that are just competitors, man. They just want to get after it. And then you got the hard-nosed fighters, which are going to be somebody like a DP or like a Nate Diaz or something like that. And with that, you kind of set your game plan up too as well, because you're going to know exactly, okay, what they're going to try to do inside the fight and what's their attack going to be. How can you strategize based upon their personality type and how they are as an individual? So, yeah, I think that coaching those guys too as well, understanding how to coach them from that personality type does go hand in hand, and that kind of drives the adaptations based upon, how we want to coach them. Because if they're more analytical, then we have to give them more of an understanding of why they're doing something. If they're guys that wants to just get after it, like if back when you were competing, right? Were you more like were you asking your coach like, why are we doing this?
We don't have any coaches. That's another weird thing of the Games. so like not only that, there's no gyms that do Highland Games. There's no coaches.
Yeah, that's
there's
weird.
There's just the 20 of us. Really, like
kind of
at
coaching
the top.
each other, but coaching each other.
Like my whole YouTube channel started from me trying to film practice and send it to the other dudes I compete with, so we could help each other.
Okay. So in all actuality, though, your competitors became
they're all homies.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's not a head-to-head thing. Like I don't win because I have to bury you.
Yeah.
Like fighting is such an interesting sport, or even tennis for that matter, right? Like you are live reacting to something the other person does.
Yeah.
Whereas throwing, I'm going to go throw as far as I fucking can today, given the circumstances, and the cards are going to land wherever they do. I can't make you throw poorly.
That's so crazy. Well, because you guys are like, you're basically just doing that one thing very, very well. You know what I mean? And so it is good, though, I think that, you got feedback from these guys, because it kind of tells you, okay, well, what am I doing wrong here? But you were analytical in the sense of, like, I know what I need to work on. based upon that throw.
Yeah, and that's why I filmed a lot of stuff. So
Exactly.
I could see like, yo, that's not right.
Yeah.
And
you do
the
have some
sport's
guys-
so technical.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That technical sport, you're going to need to be more analytical. So you're going to need to meet a quote-unquote martial artist in that sport.
Sure.
Right? So, like, do you have guys that are just brutes and just like, nah, fuck it, I'm just going to throw it?
You do. You do. What'll happen is your guys will come in from powerlifting or strongman who have just an incredible depth on strength, but they can't move.
Okay.
And so, give a really cool example of that was at one of the worlds we were at, Habthor Bjornson's there and hanging out with us, and he jumped in for an event. One of the events we do is a Braemar stone, and so it's a 28-pound stone from a standing position, throw it as far as you can.
Okay.
It's about as untechnical of the 9 events that we do.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no question whether or not he's the biggest and strongest guy that's decided to get out there that day and give it a go, right?
Yeah.
He takes 10th.
Wow.
And of fucking course he does. This is a world championship. We know how to do this.
Yeah.
You're not coming out here and brute strength in this event to death.
Exactly.
You can brute strength weight over bar, which is the 56-pound you throw for height.
Yeah.
Habthor's got the world record in it. Apparently being 440 and 6'10" help.
Yeah. Fucking closer to it.
Right. And you're the strongest dude on the planet.
Yeah, no,
because it's just a yank and a go.
Gotcha.
And even then, he's breaking world records, but the technique he's using is awful. And it's because he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to learn to do it correctly. He's just got a different rev limiter on what that thing will do. Whereas the rest of us at my size have to learn all the tricks. Like, I can't give up any extra space, man.
Yeah. That's where, like, you get guys that are super talented, man. And they're like, okay, I'm just going to show up. You get that in every sport, though.
Sure.
Every sport has that guy or girl.
And it works a bit. And people have different levels of it, right? But like you said, like of those four prongs, right, of athlete and competitor and fighter and then martial artist, every once in a while someone shows up with all 4. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
I just need to keep it on the rails. That's you know what I mean? Like, and you know that there's a difference.
Yeah.
Because you get talented people in that don't have the work ethic and just can't.
Yeah.
And then you have people that got work ethic, but you ain't got a lick of athlete in you.
Now, what do you think, though, right from there? Because I kind of know what I would think, but would the guy that can outwork the athlete that's naturally gifted have a better opportunity to get an edge on that person, or is just no chance?
Oh, I think it depends, right? It depends on if we're talking like an apples to apples, right? But, I mean, LeBron James wouldn't need to practice a lot of basketball to always be better than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no coaching I can go hire
For
or
sure,
work ethic that helps
we're talking same.
Play at that level. Yeah, but if we're at the same level, the work will win.
Yeah.
I believe the work will give you the edge. But if that other person who's got it naturally ever decides to turn it on, you're out.
Yeah, that's why LeBron.
Yeah, they'll kill you.
What he's doing now is what he's doing.
They can. It's just
Coping.
body awareness. It's able to move. It's why someone like Steffi can make a move and it clicks quick.
Sure.
Because she's a freak.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you don't have to put in time, but she's put in time as an athlete.
Yeah.
And
Well, that was one of the reasons why I was like, the transition can be there because of the fact that you built a base so solid that it was at the national, like the best level possible in that collective sport, So the
And
transition
at a
can be there.
few, she did well as a weightlifter. She did well as a soccer athlete in Venezuela, and then moved into powerlifting.
Yeah.
And so, of course, she'll be fine.
Yeah. And when it comes down to understanding your body, I think for that, it's like, all right, well, if I'm going to go ahead and be able to produce this power, produce this force in this particular range, how do you train for that? Obviously you have, your compound lifts and everything else, but how would you train in the weight room for that type of
Like
sport?
for Highland Games?
Yeah.
So it's also sub-maximal, right? That nothing we throw is heavy.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things.
Gotcha.
We throw a 56-pound weight, like even the caber is only probably 130, 150 pounds. And as far as we all do shit in the gym, like if I deadlift 700 pounds, I'm not real worried about a 56-pound thing. So the trick to doing it well is I need to apply the 700 pounds of strength that I have in the deadlift to a thing that only weighs 56 pounds. And the only ways to do that are technique and speed. And so I need flexibility to, even if I was throwing a punch here, like a shot put, you see people do that. instead of being able to push from all the way back here and then turn the hips, and now I can push from further back. So the longer you get time to apply that force, the better. And so then with that too, like I'm trying to build speed at my feet and then stay wrapped so that whatever I'm pushing into the ground to build force is translating already to the ball. And then I can always push this out at the end.
Yeah, so your focus primarily, especially in the weight room, is going to be more sub-maximal, more speed, strength, power work.
Yeah, so if I'm not competing in powerlifting at the time and I'm not judged on my total, it's all GPP.
Yes.
The whole gym's GPP. Why would I give a shit? I don't want to be the strongest dude out there taking fifth. I'm trying to win. And so more beneficial to me as an athlete is what's the heaviest weight I can squat today at 2 meters a second on the Tendo unit versus figuring out my max. Like I don't need a lift that's going to take me 2 seconds to grind out. It doesn't translate at all. But,
well, you built the base of strength at that point too as well.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things also is like if you're young and you're trying to build that base, then yes, you have to build strength in order for you to get faster and to get more powerful and so on and so forth. But when you're at the elite level like yourself, then it is more specific to the speed of the sport.
Yeah, you have to have the power transfer. And I always tell people too that like anyone even coming up and they're like, oh, you know, I'm not sure what to do training wise. Like if you're ever in doubt, go throw stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Get out of the fucking gym.
Yeah,
if you don't have the technique to apply the force you're building, stop building force for a while and fix the technique so that whatever conversion of percentage is happening so that you getting stronger affects the throw.
Yeah.
If not, you're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies.
Sure.
And like the little bit that I got to play around with some jiu-jitsu, I loved it. I loved the puzzle of it.
Yeah.
And then what I really loved about it was I know how much stronger I am than everyone in the room. But I'm going to keep that under wraps.
Yeah.
Because I need to learn technique. Because if I just go in there and be a gorilla, I'm not learning anything.
True.
And also, who gives a shit that I'm tapping out some other idiot white belt?
Yeah.
It's just a guy trying to get better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying to win that fight. I've had real competitions. I don't fucking care how this goes. Tap me 100 times today, man. I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
And instead, like, what am I going to prove? And but then I knew that, like, man, if I could get proficient, then I have that ticket to play that they don't.
Oh, for
which
sure.
is the strength. That if I want to lock you down, you're in trouble.
Well, especially like if you're going to go against a black belt that is strong, you know, and there's some guys that I've rolled with that are strong as shit, and it's different types of strength.
Oh,
especially in the gi, it's different. You know, I've known guys that, you know, you get them in the weight room and they're not strong at all.
Because it's repetition. They probably haven't bothered.
Well, exactly. Like they're not efficient, whatever the case. When they get you on the ground or on the mats and they got a hold of your gi and you don't know what to do, like, doesn't matter how strong you are at that particular time, you're getting choked out.
Yeah.
Right? So I think if you can translate, just like you talked about, translation of strength based upon the demands of the sport, and then you gaining the technique and having the skill set and the tactical efficiency too as well, because like you said, it is a game of chess. It's not checkers.
No, it would be like if I was coming into wanting to seriously get into fighting, but then also telling you I'm not interested in my strength numbers ever dropping. Well, cool. I'll just be bad at both those things. That's how that's going to work.
Yeah, you can't get both.
No, you don't get both, man. And so fucking choose one and lean in.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Of course. It's the people that
get bigger and also jump higher.
I'd like to lose weight, but also get stronger. Like, sorry. Unless you figured out something the rest of the planet hasn't, that's how it works.
Steffi told me that Dan Green told her there is no skinny champions.
No skinny champions, dude. I believe that.
Yeah, but I mean, so now though, we have transitioned totally into more of the endurance-based sports.
Yeah.
Right? But what, I know you said it in the beginning, but like, you started running and you're like, man, you just want to basically prove to yourself that you can do this?
I just want to learn from it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm looking at big picture stuff. So I went out to do support for a buddy of mine, did a 100-mile race in Arizona a month ago. And it was really, really eye-opening to be there for it. Because, I mean, he's doing a 20-mile loop, our friend Dan. And so we only see him every 5 or 7 hours. So we'll leave and go get food. I went to sleep.
Yeah, for sure.
And then set an alarm and came back, right? And so, he's still running. He's still running.
That's crazy.
And so he came in after his third lap at 4:30 in the morning, 5 a.m. And he's 60 miles in. His furthest run he's ever done prior to this is 34 miles.
Wow.
So
that's
he's
a big fucking.
He's way in the deep
big step
end,
up, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so we're trying to tune
Was
him
there
up.
anything other than that? Like, is there anything in between the 100 miles? Is it 50 miles?
Yeah, there is a 50.
50
There's a
miles.
50. There's a single. People did one lap or whatever it is for a 20 mile. They kind of open it up for anyone.
Okay.
So he's doing the big boy race.
Yeah.
And being there at 5 a.m. and watching that, and then like us tuning him up and being support and doing everything we can, like a pit stop, right? Just all you have to do is run, dude.
Yeah.
And then he comes in 10 minutes after running for 17 hours or something like that. He's been going. And put that headlamp back on and shuffle off into the darkness. I don't know that I have that mental game.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have enough to convince myself to get back out of that chair.
Yeah.
And
It's different.
so there's got to be something I can learn from that. For me, sports-wise, everything has been so fast because throwing happens like that, and then lifting and anything else. There's no time for feedback during the thing. The feedback comes immediately after. Whereas running, I have a lot of time to convince myself to keep doing this.
Or not to do it.
Right. Or tell myself, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
We're going.
Yeah,
This was a decision that's made.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's a real valuable skill I could add to me as a human.
Yes.
Is that I can deal.
Yeah.
I can endure. I'm resilient. I can be more robust. I can understand better of where that line is of can we continue to push or did we break that line?
Yeah.
And I just want to know more about what this thing can do.
Sure. Yeah. What precautions are you taking based upon the knee?
So I know that I can't do the training distance based. Whereas normally if you did something like this, you just say, okay, we have an 18-mile run, we'll probably need to be able to do 12 or 13 miles. If we can do a half marathon at 13, we're good for 18. We know that we can finish the next 5.
Gotcha.
May not be pretty,
Yeah.
but if I can finish 11 miles and still be like, oh, okay, I can train tomorrow, I can do 18.
Gotcha.
But I can't do it all on my feet. It'll beat my knee and hip up too bad. So I've got to do it on the bike. I've got to get a lot of the lungs on the cycling, because cycling doesn't beat me up.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to build the program time based, so time and heart rate based. So I need to know for sure prior to going that I've got 7 hours of go at 140 beats a minute. And then I've got to figure out how to fuel it. I need to figure out how to keep this thing chilled out. And the more that I'm running, the more that I can say, okay, I can feel the knee and hip starting to get pissy. Let's walk for the next 15 minutes. Let's chill them out, and then we can run again. And just keep chipping away at it that way. I don't have anything set of we're going to run the first 10 or the big strategy right now that I've thought of is, as I'm learning, and we'll see how it gets as I'm closer to it. It may throw it all out the fucking window. But right now it's whenever the start is. My plan is I'm going to walk for the first 30 minutes.
Okay. Oh yeah?
I'm starting off walking. And that way I
Fast
don't get
walk
too
or,
excited.
Just
walk for the first 30 minutes.
Gotcha.
I know I can maintain over 3 miles an hour walking.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I'm still on pace. But this will allow me to fully warm up.
Yeah.
I don't get caught up in that big crowd of people that can run.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to do that. I'll burn myself up in the first 30 minutes of this thing, and then I'm trashed.
Do you think that you are going to, and I don't want to put this in your brain because I know you're stronger than this, but you think that the reason why you're walking too as well is because you don't want to be with the pack because you're going to want to run faster than the pack?
Yeah, I'm aware of that trap.
I would do the same shit.
Yeah, I'm aware that trap exists, and so I have to strategize to be smarter than
100%.
I'll take off with that pack and kill myself in the first hour, and then I don't have 6 hours left to give you.
I know.
So if I'm just smart.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
Right, if I'm just smart, then I can hold the ego together for the first 30 minutes to let it spread out.
Yeah.
Give it a minute. Properly warm up and move a little bit, see how you're feeling, and then run.
Yeah.
It's a lot less stress, and remember, big picture goal, not the ego that's trying to show up in that front of a thing to do what? To prove to a bunch of people who don't have any clue who I am or care. That I can also run. I don't fucking care about their opinion. Yeah. I'm not taking criticism from someone I ain't asking for advice.
They're gonna look at your big ass and be like, he's gonna walk. Yeah. This isn't his thing.
I'm good with that. I'll have poles with me. I'm ready now. Let's go.
I love it, man. The pose that I see old people wear.
Dude, I'll have it. I'll have one in my bag.
I would probably do it too, man.
It gives, at least if I get one,
does that help you?
You have 4 points of contact with the ground. Like awesome, even if you're taking 10 pounds off.
Sure, yeah.
Saves the knee.
Bro, I was watching. I don't know who I was watching. I was driving. Yeah, and I was driving, but I was watching a guy walk with the sticks, and he was pushing it up the what was it? It was up one of the bridges by my house, and man, he was fucking going. He was probably like maybe 60 something years old, but he was going.
Yeah.
I was like, but that right there is such like ingenuity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It spreads it out.
So when you start running though, you don't ditch them.
So they're collapsible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they telescope, just like nice hiking poles.
Yeah, and
or
then
something
somebody
like
tries
that.
to
I'll just throw them
you.
in my backpack.
Yeah, jump out.
I
You
keep
fucking
I keep a
turtle.
fixed blade knife. I keep my fixed blade knife on my chest if I'm going to be out in the woods running or doing any of that. Never know what's out there. Get attacked by some cat.
Yeah. What's the terrain like?
So it's Bryce Canyon, Utah. So it's in a national park. It's beautiful. It's like Red Rock Desert.
Oh, nice.
I'll do about 4,000 feet of elevation.
Wow. Okay.
And down.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
the knee's gonna make sure
it'll be a challenge.
Hold up. Yeah. Fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard. Like I'm not doing it because I think I can finish it. I want to know.
Yeah.
And also, I don't have enough ego. Well, what's the worst case scenario here?
Yeah.
I just say I'm done.
Fuck.
I'll just go back and try again another time and realize like, okay, we need to plan better.
Yeah.
It's a learning thing.
Still
Failure's the coach.
Yeah. You're doing what you want to do.
Right. It's for me.
Yeah.
It's for me to learn about me. It's for me to see what I can do. It's for me to change modes. And like part of that losing weight and then shifting over into some of this stuff after getting out of the Highland Games is like, don't kid yourself, you're going back. Mm-hmm. Take away some of the tools.
Yeah.
You're too small to throw far. Don't kid yourself. There's no reason for us to be 280 pounds if we're not going to throw.
Yeah.
That was for a reason. Mm-hmm. We don't need any more. Show people that you don't have to get stuck.
Yeah.
You didn't just play to your strengths.
Mm-hmm. So when you got the knee surgery, I think I was watching a couple of your YouTube videos, and you were doing a lot of assault bike run, like intervals, right?
Mm-hmm.
How was that? Like, how was that transition out of surgery and getting you back to where you're at now?
The assault bike's just one of the best tools for post-knee surgery to stay metabolically intact. Especially because coming out of surgery, I know my activity level is going to be so compromised from how I want to train.
Yeah.
And so what can I control? I can control what I'm putting in my mouth.
Sure.
And then I can control some activity level. And even for the assault bike, if I can get on it and put my feet on the pegs and not use my legs and just run the arms, if I can get the heart rate up enough, we're flushing fluid, we're repairing, we're making the body fire up and run instead of just stagnant on the couch. And
still getting a physiological.
Yeah, and I don't need a 45-minute session. Let me do 3 5-minute sessions today and start there. That's probably going to do me more good.
Yeah, definitely.
And so
the starting point.
The assault bike is such a killer tool.
Yeah, we use it for the testing. We use it for protocols that we use for the fighters.
What testing do you guys do?
Maximum aerobic power testing.
Okay.
So I'm actually measuring out their heart rate at a power percentage that is going to be sustainable for 2 minutes.
All right. So
and pushing the heart rate to about right around VO2 max.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll base the protocols based off of their wattage output at VO2 or at MAP.
Man, I've done some ugly ones. Mine are simpler. 50 calories for time gets really ugly.
I'm sure. Yeah.
That's about right at like 50, 60 seconds.
Oh,
but like I'm done for 45 minutes. Yeah. Like it'll cost me the rest of the day.
I'd like to put you on maybe when you come back on the NIRS device, the Moxie that we have.
Okay.
And it's basically going to measure out your SMO2 and total hemoglobin in real time. Oh. So then what we could do, because when's your race?
The run's in May.
It's in May. We could definitely do it, because then I could give you protocols based off of your rate limiting factors. And what that's going to tell me is, like, we obviously know at this point, because you're so explosive.
Sure.
And you've been explosive all your life, you're probably not limited by utilization of oxygen. You're probably getting that, but a lot of it's probably going to be coming from your ability to deliver oxygen. So your cardiac output is going to be the main limiting factor.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Because I mean, I always look at stuff like that, like Mariusz Pudzianowski getting into fighting.
Yeah.
Or even Hapthor or any of these other gigantic humans. At some point, man, there's not enough cardio you can do. This hole in your face is not a big enough air intake.
Well, that's another thing, because you're also probably limited by your respiratory rate too as well. Taking in oxygen and letting out CO2, which is more important, because then you'll end up having an occlusion trend and you'll have that blood flow restriction of the working tissue.
Just from it, not even like actually doing occlusion work.
Yeah, you're actually occluding. You're occluding without having
physiologically to without.
Exactly, and that's why like a lot of the guys. It's funny because recently I had a guy, Evan Pike, on. He works with a lot of CrossFit Games guys, and so he was explaining to me like the reason why a lot of those CrossFit guys are super jacked is because of
their constant hypertrophy.
Exactly, and all this, even if they're doing like wall balls, right? They're doing something that's going to cause like blood to be distributed to the working tissue. So again, you're getting that nitric oxide boost, you're getting that occlusion, and that's going to build obviously there. You're going to get
plus the volume
swelling.
Those guys do. Of course they look jacked.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're not getting smaller.
Yeah, it's one of my fighters. A lot of the guys like Yoel Romero and like the guys like that, like you could see like Hector Lombard, bro. The dude does not lift weights. Trust me. I've trained him before. He doesn't know how to lift weights. But he's jacked, and he's always staying jacked because he'll wrestle and he'll occlude there, and that's why he gasses out the way he gasses out.
Genetically his body already wants to be strong.
Oh yeah.
It's it's a couple of those guys I remember just being around other athletes that naturally gain strength well. And it's like, what do you think I should do? Eat. Just eat, man. The rest of it will take care of itself for you, I promise.
For sure.
I always think about that. Like anytime I've run into like high school coaches that are at whatever level they believe they're at. There's great high school coaches too, but don't get me wrong.
Definitely.
But the biggest benefit for high school coaches is that most of your athletes are 14 to 18. They're going to double their bench in that time span just being alive. I just need you to not fuck them up, man.
This is so funny, man, because I have my, I've got my coaches now, and I'm mentoring them and everything, and we got the high school kids in here, and these high school kids are good. Like they're like Super 11, which is like the top. Which is, what would that be, all county, all state, right? And one kid's going to the university here, Florida Atlantic, and like they're like, well, what should we do? And I'm like, man, just have them lift weights. Like they're gonna get strong. Like just make sure that they are. If
you take a 14-year-old male and train him till he's 18, and he got weaker, I'd be more impressed. That's a fucking real skill.
You need to be somewhere else.
I just need you to not fuck this up. Don't get in the way, man.
Exactly. It's funny. That sounds like our meeting today.
That's a lot of what it is, right?
Man.
Especially with some athletes that we both know that, like, you as a coach have to keep it on the rails.
Yeah.
I wonder, like you were saying, like Poirier being a fighter, right?
Yeah.
How much strategy going into something like a fight with McGregor, where you know McGregor's part of the game plan is to get you riled up and make you fight him?
Yeah, it wasn't to that degree because we knew that
that it's obvious.
Well, it wasn't going to happen this fight because we kind of knew where Conor was in his life. Right now, as you can see, he wasn't trying to do that, and plus, he respects Dustin to that degree. So Dustin already knew that. They've had conversations.
So they didn't do the whole...
No, none of that was really... And honestly, Dustin wouldn't even be fazed by that at this point in his career. Now, you're looking at about 10 years ago, maybe, or, 7 or years ago, whenever they fought. It's different. Like, he's a young kid,
and trying to make a point.
Yeah, and he's like, who's this kid that's coming in here? That was the issue in the beginning. Now, he could care less, and that actually helped him out a lot in this fight because he had fun in the fight as opposed to trying to just take his head off in the first 10 seconds.
What a cool moment, like when you're in a competition and like in the thing and you realize you're enjoying it.
Oh, man.
It's the best. Like you shouldn't be. You should be so dialed in, but that flow state kicks in, right? And, and it's just moving, and there's... When throwing is good... And flow state happens and like technique is dialed in, the only thing you think about on those days is go faster.
Yeah.
And it just works. It's the best feeling ever. You just feel it all line up and smash it. But when it's bad, it's the fucking worst.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because it doesn't weigh anything. And so it just comes out of your hand and you feel like you didn't even get to try.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, just nothing happens.
It's funny because, like, when you get a knockout, like, it's effortless.
Of course.
And you just kind of go through somebody and then just, like, they're on the floor. You know what I mean?
So, like, with a big knockout, right? I'm sure that there's got to be just no better feeling in the world than housing someone like that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But when it happens in the first 30 seconds of a fight or something like that, is there part of you that's like, I spent 9 weeks getting ready for this motherfucker. Like, I was expecting to go.
That's funny. Yeah, it's a good question because sometimes I've had fighters that were like, damn, I wish I could showcase more.
That's what I mean. Like, I put in all this work to showcase this thing, and now I got to at least do another camp.
But here's the thing, though. And then there's an other side of that where it's like you took no damage.
For sure.
You got your win, and you got your money, and possibly a bonus. And now you get an opportunity to fight in like 3 weeks again.
Oh, that's true. So you can move into a fight pretty quick then because you didn't get beat up.
Yeah, and then you just transition. Right? And your weight's good, everything's good.
Okay, so you don't need a full camp.
No, we got guys. I got a guy right now, Bilal Muhammad, who just won. He fought all 3 rounds, but he didn't take a lot of damage.
Okay.
And now he's turning around and fighting on the main event in 2 weeks.
Wow.
You know?
I guess I never thought that you could turn over that quick, that you would need. I mean, how many fights does a top guy have in a year, or does it depend on the damage?
It definitely depends on the damage, if he's gotten rocked. But give or take, at the UFC level, you're looking at maybe 2 to 3 a year.
2 or 3, right.
Yeah, and that's being active. A lot of guys like Cowboy used to do like almost like 5 or 6.
He's a maniac.
Yeah, that dude's crazy. And then with the guys that are highly paid, they don't have to fight as much.
Right.
So Conor fight one time a year and he's good. At this point, but he needs to be active because you've seen what happened. So he's gonna fight again. Hopefully we'll get a shot.
Man, can't say anything. Watching that fight, I love it, right? And man, there's like watching Conor's thing and the training for it, where he's on those stairs in I'm not sure what country they're in, doing these beautiful stair runs, and his whole team is in matching jumpsuits and everything.
They were somewhere.
But
Costa Rica or something.
all of that's real cool as long as you win.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that whole matching jumpsuit thing feels real fucking weird.
Man, it was the same thing when he was doing the movements, with the
fucking Ito Portal guy.
Yeah.
No
but
longer.
you know what I didn't like about that was in MMA, some MMA fans are kind of cruel in that way. It's like he was doing that and he was winning, and then when he lost, it was all on that. And it's like you got to find out, and I get that too, man. It's like when Dustin.
He should have been.
When Dustin lost to Khabib, I was like, why was he doing this? Why was he doing that? And they don't know anything about the camp or anything. But now he win against Conor, and now it's like everything we do is.
It goes back to that. I don't take criticism from people I don't ask for advice.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
I'm not losing any sleep.
No,
over what any of these people think about my day.
For sure. Well, they don't live in your shoes. They don't do what you're doing in everyday life with you. So. And
that's most people. And right. A bunch of do nothing motherfuckers gonna sit there and tell me how the armchair of this fight, never been in a fight before.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, man.
It's I've bounced in a bunch of bars.
Yeah.
And by no fucking means am I a fighter.
I can knock somebody out,
but not someone who knows how to defend themselves. It's a bunch of drunk idiots. They don't fight well.
Yeah, that's the problem with fighting, man, is that people can you ain't gonna you do it, people do it sometimes with football, but that's stupid. But in any other sport, really, a lot of people aren't gonna critique somebody on curling,
right,
or bobsledding. You don't know how to do that shit, but everybody feels like they can fight, or they feel like they have.
Well, they've seen an action movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what most people think they're gonna do when it happens.
Got in a middle school fight when they were
you ain't gonna do shit.
So it's funny because it's primal, in a sense, and that's where it's hard for me being close to the sport, me being close to these guys, and then I can't even go to a bar and watch a fight, man. That's hard for me.
Oh, I bet.
It's
just because of the crowd.
Yeah, and sometimes I have to because maybe I'm traveling or something.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man. And then they're talking about my friends. You know what I'm saying? They're talking about people that are close to me.
At some point though, you got to be able to go they don't fucking know.
No, I don't let it get to me that. I'm like, fuck you, man. No, I just did the shake the head, roll the eyes type deal.
The people. So one of the concepts I've been kind of thinking about, right, is this idea that magic doesn't exist, but people love the idea of magic because it's easier to explain than the reality. Yeah. And so the example I use of this is the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Mm-hmm. There's a scene in it where Paul Rudd's sitting on the beach and is getting ready to teach surfing lessons. And so Jason Segel asked him to do surfing. And he basically says, he's like, sees him and he's like, yeah, you got a lot of sadness in your eyes. And Jason Segal's like, oh yeah. And he says, you know what's really great for that? And he's like, what? And he says, weed.
Yeah.
He's like, do you have any? And he goes, no.
Yeah.
And he says, well then let's go surfing. Like this is the next best thing we can do. Yeah. And like the line is delivered perfectly and all this, and it's really easy to look at something like that and be like, God damn, Paul Rudd's incredible.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd's magic. But the truth is, that's a script writer, it's an editor, it's a location scout, it's wardrobe, it's lighting, it's editing, it's whoever, it's Paul Rudd's ability to say that line probably 5 times.
Yeah.
And still make it work. And it didn't get mechanical. It's Jason Segel. It's all of these factors.
Sure.
And what you want to write off as magic, because you don't understand the process, is 20 fucking people who give a shit. It's not magic.
Yeah.
It's the same thing I think, people want to look at someone like Hapthor and say, well, if I took gear, fuck you. That ain't the difference.
Yeah, no.
You'd still be on your fucking couch sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah,
it ain't magic.
Yeah.
It's hard work, done forever. Getting stronger. Anyone who asks me that, like, oh, what do you think about getting stronger? It's really simple. Bench, squat, overhead, and deadlift, moderately heavy for the next 10 years. It'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
You can't even fuck it up.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to do that, then we're not going to get strong.
Gotcha.
So there's no magic to it, right? Like, what anyone thinks is magic, it's work.
Yeah.
Done for a long time.
No. I think people neglect the fact that there's not a pill that you could take.
Or even to coaches, right? That someone ends up getting an athlete that becomes a high profile guy and they think that's what made that coach.
Oh yeah.
Nah, man, you don't get it.
No.
It's a whole gym full of people. There's decades of it.
It's funny because now, and you've probably gotten it too, like you've been fucking competing for your entire life. And now it's like, oh, I finally got the recognition after.
Yeah, the overnight thing, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You weren't there when I was fucking grinding in the gym at fucking 5 a.m.
You weren't there for the 10 years I was throwing in a parking lot by myself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cool, man.
Yeah, have fun.
I know what it takes to be great.
Yeah.
And so I respect greatness.
For sure.
Because no one gets it easy.
100%.
No, man, there's no one who gets to the top who didn't earn it.
Oh yeah, it's not like a coincidence that there's success there.
And now, man, I just love high performers. I just want to see.
Want to be around them.
I want to see what's the coolest shit humans are capable of.
Oh yeah. That's part of the reason why we do shit like a podcast.
Yeah.
I get to be around people like yourself.
Talk to people like that. Like even on the endurance side of stuff, stuff I'm learning. There's a girl, Courtney Dolwalter, and she's an ultra runner, and she's done these 2 pretty gnarly. So she won a 240 at Moab. So it's a 240-mile race for time. She slept for 10 minutes. So she ran for 2 days and 6 hours. And then she finished 11 hours ahead of number 2.
Oh, wow.
She got to go sleep and come back before number 2 shows up, right? She's talking about that race on Rogan, and she's like, yeah, there was a point where my hearing and vision went.
Yeah.
It just went away. She's like, it kind of just got to this pinpoint where I could keep an eye on the trail.
Yeah.
I don't know what pushing to that level is.
Yeah.
And so that's a different level of performance that I'm not quite sure of, but I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. I love that fact. I love strength sports, don't get me wrong. That's awesome, and you rev up, and I've obviously powerlifted. I've done 10 meets.
Sure.
But there was a few fights that I could tell you that I've had that I was I may die. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there where I was okay, well, I can push past anything now at this point. And I'm fucking.
It's a different unlock, right?
It's different.
And
different.
that to me is what I'm hoping to get from some of the endurance training.
Yeah.
It's essentially for the rest of my go, whatever it is that I've got time left. How many different things can I steal all the beginner gains from? And as soon as the potential starts to max out and it gets really tough, no, cool, we'll move on. I've become proficient in this, and that's what I'm hoping for. I'm not trying mastery of a second thing, most likely.
Yeah.
I would love to become proficient in a ton of things.
True, yeah. I think that's why I jumped into powerlifting too a little bit. I was man, I want to learn how to fucking lift weights for real.
Well, because that gives you such an advantage with athletes, right? That especially with fighters, that if you can make their deadlift more efficient and make their squat more efficient, that it's less risk of injury
Sure.
to get more weight on them, we can accomplish more in a shorter amount of time. What if, and the best way for you to do that is like, I'm going to dive in.
Exactly.
I'll find the fire.
Bro, I fucking did a bodybuilding show for this shit. Okay?
That's so far out of one of the things I'm interested in.
Bro, when you're talking about, well, if you look at it, right, and I just did a YouTube video on it, and when I was done fighting, I retired from the sport, and I was like 175 pounds.
Sure.
You know, I was fighting at 155, or cut to 155. But in high school and in college, I was playing football at like 205.
Okay.
So I lost a lot of muscle, like, you know, to just get down in the weight class. And at the end of my career, I was kind of like, man, I want to build my body up again. You know what I mean? But the only way I knew that I was going to do that without getting sidetracked was to go all in.
I get it. This is why I signed up for an 18-mile race. I'm not going to do this on my own without...
Exactly. You're not going to fucking run that many miles for no reason.
I need a thing that I'm showing up to, prepared or not.
Yeah.
And if I'm not prepared, then I'm embarrassed. And I'll have to suck that up and deal with it.
Exactly.
You know, but...
Do you believe in, like, stating your goals and your vision?
Oh, yeah,
so
man.
So people can understand?
Well, not so people can understand. I think it's valuable putting it into the universe.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Whether or not...
Holding yourself accountable.
Yeah.
Based off of, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm stating this. Now I have to do it because I'm a man of my word. Well,
not only that, but I also think it manifesting and having opportunity, getting it put into the universe. And I've noticed for me just, you know, trying to get better at listening to the vibe of what the universe is kind of interested in helping me do versus just me putting the head down and saying I'm going this direction and I'll fight through whatever the bullshit is to get to it. Like there's a better path. For sure. You can listen a little bit more and have a lot less resistance. And so, putting stuff out into the universe is good. The other part about that, once you kind of start doing it, is you realize you have to be careful about what you put into the universe because it'll show up.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And so,
plenty of times.
You know, and I think intention's a lot more important than expectations. And so I don't have any expectations of my run. My intention is I want to go out and do this thing and finish it. That's it.
Well, that's your expectation. In
the expectation for me would saying I'm going to finish in X amount of time and I'm expecting I'll hold this pace and I'm expecting I'll do this.
The goal, yeah.
The expectation for me is if you and I were going to drive from here to New York, I'm telling you where every stop's going to be, I'm expecting these milestones to be at X. Whereas instead of like, let's just go. And then the trip can be what it needs to be and have a little bit more freedom to flow. Because I'm not trying to win a world championship. If I need to win a world championship, I know the path that's got to be set for that, but that isn't what I need to apply to this. I don't need full obsession. I don't need it to take over my life.
Sure. At this point in your life, do you feel like that's how you live your life at this point?
Yeah, I know.
It seems like it.
You know, and it's kind of being honest with myself because I've caught it before that if there's things that I'm half-ass on, I don't care enough. I may as well have just skipped it and just been honest with myself to say, why are we bothering this? You don't care that much. And that's kind of been one of the taglines that's gone with our brand is it's fuck yes or no, man.
I was just going to say that.
That's it. It's either a fuck yes or it's a no.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you say these lukewarm yeses to a bunch of stuff. I don't care enough to give it 100%. So it's not going to succeed. I'm not smart enough for half-ass attempts to work well. I don't have it.
No, for sure.
So if it's going to work for me, it's got to be full obsession. And if it's full obsession, I love it, which makes it fun for me to do that work. But I don't want to get so bogged down in 3 or 4 things that I'm half-assing, and then I have to say no to a thing that I would love.
True.
I'd rather keep the options open and then wait for the fuck yes. And that's a gut feeling. You know, if I have to, like, if we have a thing or a drop or any of that, and like I look at it and I'm like, hey, Brant, what do you think about this? If I needed to ask that question, it's a no.
Gotcha.
Move on.
Let's talk a little bit about that because you have you have successful businesses right now. Like, doing all this other stuff, but you are a successful businessman too.
So HVIII Brand is the apparel company. We've been doing that since October of 2014. I've written a few books. Typically, everything I've written right now is training based. You know, the training manual for the Highland Games, one for the throwing section of it, and then I did a general strength version of how I trained.
Gotcha.
I'm working on another book now that's more of the story of this with the knee and kind of everything I was willing to try to figure out pain.
Yeah.
So I have that. I've got a coffee company, Habit.
Coffee's amazing, by
Thanks,
the way.
man. Thanks, I'm proud of it. Like that was,
and you laced me up too, bro.
Yeah,
like
man, it's
fucking boxes, bro. Like I was like, babe,
we got coffee.
told my wife, I'm like, we're good.
Look, I know enough maniacs. I understand how things get. Caffeine's important. we need some
This
go.
is like the second one of
dude,
these. I got a coffee, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I think I had 2 coffees this morning.
I just basically stack caffeine and anxiety until 2 p.m. Caffeine and anxiety until 2 p.m.
That's how we
and then,
flow through life.
Yeah. And then it's like, switch to weed, cool it back out, and then go to sleep.
Uppers and downers.
The elevator ride.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So, all right, coffee. Merch.
Yep.
Right,
I have
apparel line.
podcast, which is UMSO, and just got.
What made you come up with that name?
It's my stutter. It's like when I'm talking to people, it's like, so. And so I was like, we're just naming it that. Running with
I was like, what's that stand
now,
for?
people
Like,
always think it's an acronym, but no, it's literally like, so.
that's fucking funny.
Yeah, if I was smarter, all my things would be named the same. But apparently I don't do that either.
Yeah, man.
Even the gym space we're building isn't named anything smart.
Really?
Like, no, it's the name of the gym is dope. And so
DOPE.
Yeah, DOPE, and so it's an acronym for Division of Performance Enhancement.
Is it really?
Yeah, so I just got in this big 10-foot wide by 4-foot tall neon sign that's in like bright pink that says dope, and under it says Division of Performance Enhancement.
Fucking
So,
awesome, man.
like that's what that space is.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to build a space that I felt creative in, and this was a space that me and my team could get better at whatever we feel like getting better at.
Yeah.
Like if Bonnie wants to train for a thing, let's get equipment. Let's get better at it. Here's the place. And so I also need a creative space. I want a place to kind of figure some stuff out. Like even this morning while I was out on the run, like I put together a future drop. Like I'm like, that's a design I'd like to make and what I'd like to do with it. And it was really cool that I get it when I'm doing things. And so I got to do.
What made you like get into the merch, like the apparel line and everything?
So in the book, I wrote the books first. And so one of the things I wrote about in the book was, that just this personal philosophy of kind of training that self-motivation through self-loathing. You know, enough to be like, hold yourself accountable. Like, I don't need a coach to tell me this wasn't good enough or any of that type of shit. Like, it's for me.
Yeah.
I do this because it matters to me. And if it matters to me, why would I wait for someone else to tell me I should?
Yeah.
Just get to do it.
Yeah.
And I looked at athletes, growing up, like Jerry Rice, this Pro Bowler, the best he's ever been, still up at 4 a.m. in like the last years of his things, outrunning routes and trying to get better.
Yeah.
And if he's that guy, if he gets up in the mirror and like wakes up in the morning, looks in the mirror and says, we got to do better, he hates himself more than I do. And like maybe learn a little bit of that. Like hold yourself accountable because ain't no one handing it to you.
Yeah.
And so that's where it stemmed. And so that was like 2012. I wrote the book, 2011. And then 2014, we started apparel. And the guy who does all my printing, Phil, and handles my warehouse and does fulfillment, hit me up. And he's like, have you ever thought about selling shirts? And I'm like, no. I have no interest in doing that because I don't have time. I had a real job at the time, still doing outside sales in the gas industry. And I was like, I don't have time to go to the post office once a week to sell 10 shirts, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I can do all that part for you. And I'm like, oh, well now that's interesting. And so basically I just have to do the design work and come up with concepts and then market it.
Nice.
Which I like.
Yeah, that's your thing.
And so we started doing that in October of 14. We printed we came up with a design and then did a pre-sale for 2 weeks and sold maybe 100 shirts.
Yeah.
And then I took the profit and made more shirts.
Yeah.
And we have inventory.
Yeah.
And that's just continued to roll from there to now 7 years in and doing a couple $1 million worth of shirts.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome, bro.
So it's cool, man. It's been really, really cool, and lucky enough to have so many rad people too that do the same thing.
Yeah.
That aren't scarcity minded people that we can all share information and all that. Scarcity mindset's just so exhausting.
No, for sure.
And we're not sharing success or happiness, man. There's plenty of it.
Yeah.
We can all have it. We can all rising tide raises all ships.
That's it, man. That's it. All right, so we're gonna get to training, do some stuff, do some videos. Tell them where they can find you, and then also website, everything else for business.
So apparel stuff you can find over on thehate.com. It's spelled HVIII, like a H with a Roman numeral 8 for hate. I'm really glad I didn't spell it HAT. It would have been probably rough 2020. I'm glad I don't have to spend all 2020 explaining what it means.
Yeah, that was a good move.
Yeah, this worked out.
Pivoted on that.
At the same time, I have a brand that most people can't pronounce, so I guess whatever. So you can find me there. Habit Coffee is yournewhabit.com. UMSO podcast, and then Instagram's I Hate Matt Vincent.
Nice, man. Well, we're going to get out of here. Matt, thanks again, bro.
Dude, thank you, man. I love this.
All right, catch you next time.